the more I started talking to the both of you, the more I was like, man, we need to invite you onto our podcast, because N of Eve means the original life. It's all about teaching concepts of the original life before we've been hijacked by big industry, toxic water, chemicals, pharmaceutical drugs, all of these things that really harm us in some big ways. And part of that is our food. And, we're big into the carnivore diet right now. So meat is a big thing, and you guys know all about that. So we're really excited to hear about you, how you got into the industry, what made you decide to move from beautiful Salt Lake City down to northern Dallas, Texas. We want to hear about that story of how you got into that. So maybe we start right there.
Yeah, no, tell us how you got. So you moved from up here.
We actually, we were both raised here, and so I was raised in Salt Lake, up in the avenues, and then my wife was.
I was raised near Park City, Utah.
Oh, okay.
Is it Colville?
Oh, yeah.
Haven't heard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right on the lake?
Right behind my house was the reservoir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So how did you get to Texas then?
So we, when we got married, we lived in Denver, and then we spent about 2 years there, and then about 4.5 in Grand Junction, Colorado. And then my company took us out to Texas after that. And so we just hopped on the bandwagon and started to enjoy Texas and the life in Texas. And then we've just been there for 25 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said your company, what did you do before we found beef?
Yeah. So I've been in I started out as kind of a real estate appraiser and worked for a kind of a large company where we appraised and we did loans and all that underwriting and all the things to do with real estate. And then we moved up to Dallas from Austin. We actually spent about 6 months in Austin, and then we've been in the Dallas area for 25 years now, right? Mm-hmm. And so, really, when that just transitioned, when I took a severance from that company, then we really started to about 4 years ago, we started looking into getting a property. So another property where we had some land and some animals and things like that. We were really looking for an opportunity to have our children and our grandchildren and really connect with nature and animals. And so less technology and more about, really good life where people are connected. So that's kind of my perspective. How about you, honey?
Yeah, so that's about right. Our biggest regret is that we didn't do it sooner, because a lot of our kids are grown, but the grandkids come out there, and it's just really healing to be out there. It's really peaceful, and that kind of started us on our journey to getting cows.
So whose idea was this first to get into the beef industry and start a beef company?
It's a great question. I mean, I think we've met some really great people up there, and one of our good friends, he's a 4th generation cattle rancher, and when we were up there, he helped us with everything and taught us everything that we know today, and he's been an amazing friend. And one day we kind of sat down and I just asked him, I said, what can we do to be helpful and to be part of the community, up here in Celeste? And so he thought it over and came back and said, sell their beef. And I was like, really? Sell their beef? And he goes, that would be the best thing you could do for the ranchers up here. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And so and at that time, we had already purchased 3 pregnant cows, and then we were starting to have our own calves, and we were going through those rotations ourselves to kind of, as first generation ranchers, doing all the things and that it took to do that and learning everything. And so that just kind of started happening about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, where we really started thinking, wow, let's do this. This is a great opportunity to really bless the lives of our community and our ranchers. And then also it's a blessing to us because we're learning how to become more self-sufficient. And my wife could probably talk more about that. That was a big piece for her, was, becoming more self-sufficient.
Now, Jodi, your background is being a nurse. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that journey with you.
So I've been a nurse for a long time, since '95, and I took 10 years off to be with our kids, and then I went back in 2009. I always worked in women's health, and I don't know, during COVID, I became really disenchanted with the whole health system, the traditional system, and just started seeing some things differently. And so it's all I don't know. We're just trying to figure it out as we go along. But I'm still working, but I have learned a lot of things from just things that I've seen since COVID, with just vaccines and just how doctors are basically doing whatever they're told and not questioning it. And then when people do question it, then they're kind of belittled. They're called crazy, or they're called stupid, and just for questioning the status quo. So, but
you're not alone there, and our audience really will identify with that, because there's a lot of information out there about the vaccine, of side effects that are happening now,
exactly
how it all got approved, all the technology that was there, patents that were already in place before COVID even happened, as if they knew it was coming. So there's a lot of information out there that's factual. It's not some crazy conspiracy theory, but it's legitimate.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you saw that as a nurse, and then you were starting to talk about, hey, let's create this company, the Jensen Beef Company, right? Tell us kind of how it went from, hey, your neighbor says be in the community and sell their beef. You bought a couple cows, and now you've got how many head? How many heads?
Yeah. So right now, we were already starting that process of having our own cattle. And we weren't looking to do anything massive or anything like that. We were just, self-sufficient. We want to raise them correctly, and ours are all like pasture, so it's all pasture fed. And so as things progressed, we became, I would say, we're a cohort of a few different ranchers. And so in all reality, we have probably a couple thousand head that we can supply, through our company, which is more than we can handle. So we're not shipping it and doing small pieces and things like that. We're just selling wholes, halves, and quarters. And that's kind of where we want to focus. We really love the idea of delivering it directly to the consumer, because we really value it. One of the most fun things we have is going up to your house and being in your house and meeting you, shaking your hand, giving you a t-shirt, and then just seeing us give you probably the purest meat you can get and as fresh as you can possibly get. And then knowing that it came from a really great place. It's just one of our criteria is where is your food coming from? And that's a big criteria that we really care about. Just, do you know where your food, if you knew wherever all your food came from, you wouldn't eat most of it, because it's a lot of it, most of it's junk. But if you know where it is and it's healthy, then it's so satisfying, because you're like, this is how it's supposed to be. It's not manufactured. It's not coming from Israel. It's not in, they don't have to create it from DNA. It's God's given food to man. And so that's something that's really special for us as we deliver it to people.
And we don't do it for money. We really got into it just so people can have access to it, because most people don't know where to find it, where to find, Pasture-Raised beef. Even even in Texas.
Well, it's kind of wild. You're saying this, it's an epidemic. They make fun of it, like the late night shows and whatnot, where they get on there and they go, where do your groceries come from? Most people aren't even asking these questions. They just assume it's the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
And all the stuff that's going into our food, it is actually turning into an epidemic at this point.
It really is.
My wife has told me a number of times, like we are at an epidemic of food, like that it's at a critical mass of where the food industry is.
We have plenty of food, but it's nutrient deficient.
Right.
So,
Well, and not only is it nutrient deficient, they've added so many chemicals
right.
and toxins, and you
It's
compare,
poison.
poison, like Fruit Loops in America has 200 ingredients, and Fruit Loops over in Europe has like 7. And they're allowed to put them in American food, where over in Europe, many of these chemicals are banned entirely. So with meat, how, like for the average person learning new information about the meat industry, what are some of the problems with just going to the grocery store and not really caring? Or like, where's the best beef in a grocery store? What do you want to stay away from? Like you go to McDonald's, I'm hearing about artificial meat being manufactured that is like out of crickets, or I don't know. Tell us a little bit about what you know about that information.
Well, I would say bad meat's probably better than good cereal.
Yeah. Pick your poison.
But we feel like the best stuff in a grocery store is are the outsides. The insides, the cereal aisles. I mean, it's just crappy stuff. It's just look at the ingredients. If you can't understand what they are, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Because you don't know what it is, and you don't know where it came from. And then who are you supporting? There's another one. I like to support local ranchers myself. In fact, we started out finding beef and eating beef and going, wow, this is very different beef. This does not taste like the grocery store. And in all reality, we haven't really had grocery store food from like kind of a Kroger Smith's kind of area, where we haven't really bought from there for like 15 plus years, because we would go there and get the meat, and we'd smell it, and we're like, golly, this doesn't smell like meat. This smells chemically treated or something. And now you know that it is. And we've even seen articles where people have repackaged, how it says it expired last week, but now we're just going to repackage it and it expires in 2 more weeks. So really we've been disenchanted with meat for a lot longer. We have had meat, but we've gotten it from somewhere like Costco, which is probably better than most of the grocery stores, but still, I don't know where it came from. I don't know, is it a mix from a Brazilian to a Uruguay cow that came to the United States, and they call it American beef because USDA processed it here in America. Well, that's not USDA. I mean, that's not US meat, in my opinion, if it didn't come from here. And it certainly didn't create a local, it didn't support the local ranchers as well. And so that's a big thing for us. And so the carnivore diet's also a big thing as well. If you actually go look and find the people that are actually on carnivore diets, and you go watch them and watch their progress, it's unbelievable, the results. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life, as far as if you want to get healthy, that is one way that is basically a guarantee to get you healthy.
I am so happy you brought that up. I'm fascinated by the carnivore diet. Little fun fact for you, they should put this on the brochure. If you want to fix infertility, that's actually top of the list. And hi, baby Nora, that's how we got you, okay? So, but big thing that a lot of people don't quite understand. Your body, the way it processes meat, specifically beef, okay, that is actually the baseline of good nutrition for us as humans. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at all the animals, I think meat is good in general, right? But I would say if you understand a cow and you start to see how it's made, and it has a rumen where it has basically 4 chambers, And you
4 chambers of digestion, 4 stomachs,
Right.
Yeah.
so to speak.
Mhm.
And Jodi can probably talk better about it, being the nurse she is. But it's I look at it as in an overall picture. It's a kind of a sanctuary of creating the vitamins and minerals, and also a filtration system that I don't think any other animal has. And so it really is an amazing God-given thing that gives us. They're made to feed us. Yeah.
It really is kind of a wild thing. The people don't understand that plants, when you kill a plant, it actually gives off what's called oxalates. Oxalates to us are toxins, okay? And they actually are doing studies now that those plants are screaming when they get cut down, right?
I've seen that.
So all of it, but there's beef, and then like you're talking about, it filters out those oxalates, and then that is good, clean, good nutrition for us. Where other animals, I heard you used a different word here, but I've heard of it as bovine animals. They've got a hoof, right?
Yeah.
And that's the indicator that has the 4 stomachs. But part of that 4 stomachs, and the reason, and then, because this is what I found so fascinating about the carnivore diet. How many people have a peanut allergy? There's a whole industry, billion-dollar industry of peanut allergies. Have you ever heard of anybody being allergic to beef?
Nope.
Or dying from beef? So it is truly, your body is meant to process that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's a feeling, it's a food that fills you, right? I mean, you don't get empty calories. You're getting
Nutrient dense food.
Yeah, nutrient dense food that's really it fills you. I personally for me, I eat twice a day. I don't need to eat more than twice a day. I wake up, I work, I have a 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock lunch, breakfast, whatever you want to call it. I eat again in the evening, and I'm done. And I don't snack in between, really, because I think you're more full and you have some substance in there. I had really bad acid reflux for like 20 years, and I was taking a pill called pantoprazole. I never say it correctly, but pantoprazole, and now we realize that some of the side effects is memory loss. And so when I found that out, I said, man, I've got to make a change. And that's when I also went and said, I'm going to take this seriously myself, and I need to get off of this. And so I haven't had acid reflux for almost probably a year now. And
so are you mostly on the carnivore diet?
Yeah, I would say
we're more meat based, because we will eat vegetables and all of that, but we watch carnivore influencers and we see the amazing results. We also have our own our son. We've seen our own personal experience with him. He had a what do you say?
AVM.
So he had it's called an AVM, an arterial venous malformation, that he was born with, and you wouldn't know you had those. And it's just like a cluster of arteries in your brain, and then eventually it's just a high pressure area in the brain, and eventually it will break and you'll have a hemorrhage. And so that happened when he was about 15, 16.
When it broke?
Yes. And through that, he ended up having surgery, and then he ended up with a seizure disorder from the surgery because it caused some irritation there and scar tissue. And he's just gone through a lot of things, but he's had a lot of depression with that. And then anyway, it culminated to he had a seizure and actually fractured his shoulder, dislocated it, because it was such a violent seizure. And then he became super depressed. We couldn't even get him out of the house. And for probably it was a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
A very long time. And
we're talking years?
No, not years, within a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he used to eat horrible. Like, we would find, not kidding, 6 boxes of Gushers empty under his bed, and he had drawers full of just candy, and he he was the worst. He would drink all these sodas and all these energy drinks, really bad for him. And we basically, when we changed our diet, we changed the whole household, and he was only good food was available to him because he wasn't going to go out and get it. And so he's doing amazing now. And
so more
also,
on the meat.
yeah,
the
and also
protein.
with our ranch now, he's up there. He's running things. He's caring for all the animals, and he has a purpose, and he's eating great every day.
Wow.
Better than we are.
Yeah, he really is.
And that change has been like pretty drastic in his
and it's been
depression. He's doing
in the last 3
emotionally.
months.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Just-
big.
That's current.
Wow.
It is.
Huh.
Well, I know, Topher, you had said that something about baby Nora. You and your wife were doing the carnivore diet, and she wasn't able to get pregnant.
It wasn't that. It was, we weren't actively trying for this. Okay. We found this out after. But with meat and the carnivore diet, it does kind of reset and gets your body firing on all cylinders. Baby Nora was, it was a one-time accident. Truly. And then come to find out, as we were doing that, because we really dove in, like, can we stay on the carnivore diet while you're going through pregnancy? And still kind of a mix. I don't know there's enough data to really, go one way or the other. So we kind of got away from it a little bit. But one of the things that we learned on that, like they call it an elimination diet, or there's other names for it. But one of the ways that you can actually reset this and fix infertility is cleaning up your diet, and the carnivore diet is at the top of that list.
Yeah, because it's eliminating inflammation
Mm-hmm.
in your body, and that is the cause of a lot of things, including infertility.
It's kind of wild how that all worked. It does. When you're on it, you feel like your brain is firing on a different level. Your energy levels are on a completely different level. And like you were saying, Jordan Peterson was talking about this, like he's our poster child for this, right? But he'd sit down and eat 64 ounces of meat and then wouldn't eat for 3 days, and it was just not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do believe, like, if you think about how you're, like, us in nature, how would you go about doing this? And I'm of the mind that God kind of sat down and said, okay, you need to hunt, but then he gave us a little bonus that, hey, that apple, while you're walking from hunt to hunt, you can eat that and it'll get you through to the next one. I do not believe that it was by design. There's a parable, and I'm going to butcher this, but like, if you sit at the base of the apple tree, right, you'll perish away, and because it's laziness. You're supposed to go out and you're supposed to hunt. You're supposed to get the good food. I really do believe that, like, the stuff in between was just as a bonus, God being nice to us, that we could do both. So, but the difference on the two is just absolutely unbelievable. The way that you feel, your mind. I know you've actually started on this.
Yeah.
And then also, if you just Google carnivore versus vegan and look at their face, and you tell me which one is actually better.
Yeah.
I've seen
There's
it.
no doubt. Yeah, it's
So-
interesting. The carnivores, just for a lot of people, it's hard because it's not the carnivore that's hard. It's getting rid of all the other things that's hard.
All the carbs, the bread, the pasta, the
Yeah.
bread, all that.
Mhm.
And so much, one is that so much of what we have is already kind of poisoned in a sense of, you have a lot of glyphosate out there that's being sprayed with, wheat and all the other chemicals. And then you have all the GMO stuff. And so that stuff is all causing wreck on the gut as well. And so when you start on that carnivore, you are eliminating so much more. It's not just the meat. It's the beef is great, but it's also eliminating all of this other junk. And so you're really detoxifying your body all at once. And so it's going to change your brain. It's going to change your gut. And I think it takes years to change your gut. I don't think it just changes over time. I can tell when if I decide I want to go have an apple and an orange and a pear for lunch, and then I can tell the next meal, if I go and have meat, and that's my core that I'm eating, it's night and day how my stomach is feeling, how my body, where my energy is. I'm not energized from the fruits but for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then my gut's hurting, or I get some acid reflux. And when I'm eating meat, that just doesn't happen. I don't have it. It's night and day.
In terms of like a diet and doing it, it really is. And I know you just tried this, right? But it's the only diet. And I've tried I was a professional baseball player. So like, you want to talk about, like, I tried everything to gain an edge. I was a vegan that was the worst. Don't ever do that. I tried the pescatarian. I gave everything it's like an actual do in trying it. What makes the carnivore easy to me, and maybe you could speak a little bit to this, is like, you're not hungry. You're encouraged to eat until you're full, and then all of a sudden the weight and everything is just falling off of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you like bacon, tallow, eggs, meat. Like I had 4 eggs this morning with some bacon, and I'm full. And, and before it would be like when you would eat, a meal and you eat 6 meals a day, I don't know. It's been interesting, but my brain fog is gone. I'm thinking more clear, but I think it's the elimination of all the other things in the product. It's not just because I'm not eating bread or pasta or the sugars and the carbs, but it's everything else that's mixed in with it. Yep. So what is it that's in meat? Like if you were talking to somebody, what is in the meat normally? The hormones, the steroids, the antibiotics, how they're fed, what they're fed, as opposed to your product. What is the difference between the ingredients in that?
Well, like we said before, you can eat any kind of beef and it's going to be better for you than not eating it, because just the way that it's processed through the animal itself. But ours are all pasture-raised. The other ones, if you get it from the grocery store, you're getting it from the feedlot. As we drove out here from Texas, we passed a lot of those farms where they're all on dirt. They're shoulder to shoulder. They're just fed whatever.
There's no grass to be found.
None. Yeah, and they're just.
So what are they? What are they fed then? What do they eat? Just straw,
grain and hay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
How does that affect the animal?
Well, you're not getting the healthiest animal, and you're not treating the animal the way that animal was meant to be. And I call it the consumer feedlot. There's really a couple different levels of feedlots. You have a feedlot where you have local, they could be sick animals, they could be non-sick animals, and they go through that feedlot. Okay, and that's what feeds a lot of people. And then I think you have the commercial feedlot. What I call commercial, it's just easier. It's the people that really don't have any of your best interest in mind. It's all about, doesn't matter where the meat comes from, what country, we just want to get the lowest prices and we want to make the biggest bang for the buck. And it's not about people, it's not about anything, but it is that kind of corporate greed that permeates the majority of the industry. And so that's where we really try to fight hard for the beef grown by local ranchers. So if I go and survey 100 ranchers, I imagine that and I say, hey, how many of your kids are going to be ranchers? I would bet that 75% of them will not ranch, at least. And almost everyone I ask has said, my kids are in corporate. They're doing this. They're making money because what's the incentive? And if people start purchasing from local ranchers, then that will change, because it is a hard life anyway. It has one of the highest suicide deviations, as far as what can happen.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very high. And you got to realize, like, weather is very unpredictable. And so, for example, this last year, we had a lot of rain in North Texas. Well, we missed a cut so hay couldn't be cut because it was too wet. And so you take something that you may have been paying $30 for a bale of hay, and now it's $130 because you missed a season. And so those things affect a rancher, and can they increase their pricing enough to cover that? No. And is the consumer going to do it? No, because you have the commercials behind it that are the commercial are, they're just going to keep feeding them with grain, and they're going to do it as cheaply as possible. They don't care about the health of the animals or the health of you. I mean, just look at the USDA, what they approve for what our food pyramid looks like. It's completely upside down.
Yeah. No, it truly is. And you got to give a little credit. Like, I truly don't believe that anybody starts with a malicious intent.
Sure.
All right. Once money gets involved, that does kind of change things. And to your point, ranching is hard. It's very hard work. And there are elements that you can't control. Rain, can't do a cut on the hay. Like, all that makes sense. That's probably why they started doing grain in the first place, because they could control it a little bit more. So, but then you take it down, and now we've got a problem. So how do you fix this? And your solution, what you're saying is, we need to start supporting these local ranchers.
Yeah, the ranching, the local kind of ranchers that we're talking about, ranching from a family ranch is on a downhill slide. I mean, it's going down. It's not going up. And so there is a cohort of people that around the country that we're connected with that are trying to change that. And that is, we want to get, families, and we want it to turn back, like it's 100 years ago where families are ranching, and being self-sufficient. And so that's a change as well. And that'll bring more ranchers into the business. And then more of those will say, hey, I want to go bigger. I want to have my own ranch, and I want, 2,000 head of cattle. And so if we don't make those changes, then it's just the trajectory will continue to go down.
Yeah. So my wife and I went up to Yellowstone, and there's that whole TV series, Yellowstone in 1882. And I think a lot of people got kind of reintroduced to the ranching industry and kind of what it means, and kind of it became very, very popular, right?
Yep.
So maybe that'll, spur some people on, I'm going to do a ranch like the Jensens. But we were up in Yellowstone, and we went to a rendezvous, and the same thing was happening. We were talking to these old timers that would set up their own tents. They had their leathers, they had, loin skins on, they had bear, they had elk horns and knives. And we said, this is obviously who's going to take your place? And they said, there's nobody. This is going to be a lost experience for the next generation. And when it comes, that's one thing to not have a rendezvous and a mountain man, expo kind of a thing out in the field up at Jackson Hole, or they have them, in Fort Bridger over in Wyoming, and they have a few of these around the country. But that's going to be a lost art. And so, but with ranching and beef cattle raising, that's a real big industry. I mean, what do we do when that happens? Where do we turn?
It's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's in that decline. And so that's where we have to really push for, that's one of the reasons why we were willing to jump into it, because I knew it wouldn't be easy. And so the ability for people the first step is really just buying good beef, buy from a local rancher, and that supports those ranchers, and those ranchers have children, and those children, you want them to be ranchers. And so promoting that is really, I think, the first step, is just having people know that ranching is going down. I mean, I didn't know ranching was going down 3 years ago. But it's a critical thing. You can change the clothing on you, but you can't change when the food's gone. The food's gone. I mean, you got to have. I don't want crickets for dinner. That's what I don't want.
No kidding.
And I want to support my local ranchers and ranchers anywhere in the U.S. or in the world, and for that matter, to keep going and promote that within their own families as well.
Yeah. And then I know that when I reached out to you and we were talking about, doing a full cow, half cow, quarter cow, you even have an eighth of a cow. Can you do that? Or is it quarter as small as you can go?
I guess you can just keep cutting everything in half. So we don't even promote an eighth. We basically, if someone's like, if I get a quarter that's sitting there and I have someone that says, well, it's just a little too big for me and my spouse or whatever, I'm just like, well, let's give you half and we'll give another half we'll either keep the other one because we're always
consuming it ourselves.
We're always consuming ours. So it's something that we can do. The larger you go from like a whole cow, you get to customize. I can turn something into steaks or more roasts or things like that. I can customize it more. When you get to those quarters, it's just a lot harder to customize because you don't have, you're getting halves of halves. And so that's where people will really enjoy. I'd say most of our clients, almost all of our first clients bought half cows. Like almost every single person bought a half a cow. And we've really kind of recently started to do a lot more quarters, but people like to customize their meat as well, so they can have that the way they want it.
So mine was a quarter, and I was really kind of surprised at how much beef now I have in my 7 cubic foot. I mean, it filled it all the way up, and I was like, wow, it just kind of kept coming as you were offloading. I had no idea, and I think the average person has no idea what a quarter of a cow really is, or what a half a cow is. It's kind of hard to picture that. You go, well, I know about how big a cow is, and well, half of that is this. But once you do harvest the cow and you process it, you do local processing. So not only are you supporting the rancher, but you're also supporting other businesses to support it and package it. And then what I thought was really cool is like the hamburger, beautiful. Like you look at it, it's flash frozen. It looked incredible. And the ribeyes, like I'm a big ribeye guy. I love a good ribeye. But tell me about that process. Once you take your cow and you process the cow, how does that flash freezing work?
So they'll immediately flash freeze it, and then help me. The vacuum sealing.
Oh,
Hello.
vacuum sealing.
Yeah, so we can cut all that out.
Thank you.
So let me ask. I'll lob this one up to you again.
Okay.
So when you process the cow and you package it, tell me a little bit about the packaging and how that supports other businesses around the meat industry down there in Texas.
So it's really great. We have great processors in Texas. We found, because we were actually going to sell beef for friends that we have in Colorado, and we found that we can't even get into their processors there for a year.
What?
It's scheduled out that long, and they also package it differently. They do it in paper, and so it's just not a viable solution for us. But we do. They put it in vacuum sealed, and then they flash
freeze it.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, how many times we have to do this? So they flash freeze it, and then they store all of the leftover parts from the prime cuts, and then they make the hamburger. And you can do it in those like the Chubb containers, or you can do it in the vacuum sealed.
Vacuum sealed.
Yeah, it's the process is really good, because when you look at how they used to do it, and a lot of places, even here in Utah and Idaho, a lot of places will still wrap it in this brown paper wrap, and we have some cohorts over in British Columbia, and they do it that way, and they're successful with it, and it works. I would just say that having the vacuum sealed the way we do it with our processor is going to last a lot longer, and it's going to it's going to taste fresh a year or two later.
You don't get the freezer burn.
Yeah, it's an amazing addition to that. Technology has really helped the industry as far as where we are, and it's just easy to deal with when you have like hamburger meat and you just want to you stick it on the counter and let it just thaw. I always say don't put it in the microwave, because now you're having secondhand cooked meat, and so it just allows you to go through that process, and it will taste as great in 1 year than the next year. it'll have that same flavor, that same vibration, vibrant flavor that you're used to, you know? So it's going to be really great.
So how, if somebody wants to learn about you, what is your website? How do they contact you guys to learn more? I thought your website was beautiful, but how can people find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, basically our website is jensenbeef.com. So pretty simple. And you can reach out to us at contact@jensenbeef.com. And then you can certainly give us a call at 214-597-2527. And those are probably the best places to get to contact us. And we're pretty vigilant on getting back with you quickly.
So let's talk real fast, like, because it's got to be cheaper to buy it.
Hold on, let's start that set over. I got a cough.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Time out, everybody. We'll just get a quick water break.
Yeah. I've been holding that cough. Sorry.
Proud of you. You're doing really well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about to buy a cow in a half or a quarter or something like that is actually a much cheaper endeavor. What would they be expecting on compared to like store prices versus buying it in bulk from a rancher like yourself?
I don't think it's necessarily cheaper, but this is how I look at kind of the pricing, and Jodi may have a different perspective on it, but I look at it as you're paying a really fair price on the best of the best. Like, you're getting a cow you're getting this meat that is, you know exactly where it came from. You know, from the day it got deposited into the processor, where it hung for 7 to 10 days, where they made their cuts over 3 days, they vacuum sealed it, and it's flash frozen. And that's an amazing thing to know. And so you're getting the freshest, best beef you can get. And so when you are eating healthy and you're eating that beef and you're eliminating all the other stuff, that's the great deal. Because you will eliminate, what is I don't even know what a box of cereal costs anymore because I haven't bought a box of cereal. But a box of cereal, what is it, $5? So how many of those boxes of cereal and all the loaves of bread or all the things that you're eating that's just constantly, we used to be paying $1,000+ a month easily to raise our family. And
in a grocery bill.
In a grocery store, our bill is like, what do we spend, honey?
$35.
We spend like $35 at a grocery store.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Right? I go and this is where I cheat, which I don't even call it cheating, because I go to a little creamery. I get their ice cream. It's vanilla. It's whole milk, and sugar. That's it. And vanilla, real vanilla flavor. And that's what I love, and I do like it a lot. So it's a lot of fun. But our bill has been nothing. So really, we really put most of our money, 90% of our money, in beef, and we eat that beef. And the other things, we get peaches from I guess Utah, right, and Georgia, mostly Georgia, because I guess they're a little closer. But we get the peaches, we get fresh peaches, we know where it came from. And that's really how we eat. It's very little from the grocery store now. We don't really like the grocery store much, not because there aren't good people there, but because the food in there is just processed, dyes, all the things that aren't healthy for me. The other thing, if you don't mind me adding, is, I used to eat oatmeal every morning, and I always wondered why. The biggest I've been was about 235, and that's a little too much for my height. But I was always wondering why I had kind of this punch,
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have this? I'm healthy. I go to the gym, a couple times a week, and I don't exercise hard. But why do I have this little paunch? Well, once I changed and I stopped eating all the oatmeal every morning, my stomach just fell. It just fell off me. It was just unbelievable how fast it did. And I'm like, that was just one thing. And so
one thing that you eliminated.
One thing that I eliminated that just had a dramatic effect. And the others have just been obviously on my acid reflux. I used to have kind of this in my arms, like pre-diabetes, where I had this like warm sensations in my arms kind of. And once I changed my diet, all that went away. It just instantly, it didn't take, a month. It took like a week. It was gone.
Yeah.
And so it is amazing what happens. And it takes a lot of self-discipline to stick to saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to follow through with this. And it will work for if you do that. I'm completely convinced that, it's 80%, maybe higher, 80% of what we eat. And it's only about 10 or 20% of what we do in activity.
I could not possibly agree more with you. From an athlete's perspective, we overemphasize working out to the end of the line, right? Your diet is 90% of it.
Yeah.
And
they say you can't outrun the fork.
It's good. That's a great one.
And the other thing too, I don't want to keep going back on price, but there is a, oh gosh, my mind just went blank. Now I get to do an edit, right?
I was going to answer your question about that. So you're paying for whatever it is, $8 a pound basically, or whatever for a ground beef. You're also paying $8 a pound for that ribeye. And that's,
it all does balance out in the end. Yeah, absolutely. But I was going to say
$22 a pound.
Right.
Yeah. But if they kind of trick you in the grocery store, they give you an apple, right? That apple's $1. But if you actually did vegetables and fruits on a per pound basis and then compared that to beef, it's not as expensive as you think it is.
Yeah.
They play these tricks on you, how they price things out. Being on a carnivore diet, because that's the first thing anybody says, it's either, oh, I could never do that, that's too much meat, okay? Or it's, how would you ever afford that? And it's really not. If you add everything up per pound, it's actually not even close. Your fruits and vegetables are way more expensive than beef.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that, we go off of hanging weight where you get bones, so you can make the best broth, healthy for collagen. So get rid of the collagen. You have that in your broth, so you can make broth. You got dog bones. You've got offals, which is the liver, the heart, the kidney. You've got oxtail and the tongue. So those are all extremely healthy organs that you can have as well. Plus there's tallow that you can get. Tallow is like, I don't know what per ounce it goes with in cosmetics, but tallow's
like 70.
Yes, like $70 an ounce or something. So tallow, you just go learn how to do tallow and turn it into your creams and
cook with it
and eat it because it's extremely healthy. So all that stuff comes with it if people want it. And
I know most people we've been taught, stay away from fat, don't eat butter, all those things. And those things are not true. And we really just need to get back to those things and use them. They are so incredible for our skin. And yeah, it's what we need to be using.
That's so interesting you brought that up. There is, okay, do you want to go to the conspiracy side or do you want to go like a factual side, right?
I like both.
Because the animal fat, and this is part of what you learned in the carnivore diet, true carnivore diet, you want to have an equal balance, protein and animal fat. Mm-hmm. Animal fat is what feeds your brain.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
And your brain is made up of 90% cholesterol.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to feed your brain just like anything else. Well, somewhere in I think they said the 70s. I just watched this, so I'd have to watch it again to get it fully factually correct. But somewhere in the 70s, and because of the wars and whatnot, we made a transition. Before that, everything was cooked in was it lard and animal fat. And did you ever see anybody fat back then?
No.
There was nobody that was fat. And then they made this switch to the seed oils and then processed everything instead of cooking it in lard and butter and whatnot. And then there was marketing that also went along with this. They really started demonizing, even to this day, if you look at Twizzlers, it's fat-free. Hold on. Why? Okay. It was sugar that was the problem the whole time. But the marketing that went behind it, they went from animal fats and cooking with animal fats to these seed oils. And now we've got an obesity epidemic. Like, you can take this as far as in the past as you want. The answer, how did they eat before? The staple of diets before was you had your meat was the primary. Then you had usually back then it was your potato and then a vegetable. In proportion, that is actually a heck of a lot closer to what we need than what they're saying it is now. The food, I'm with you. The food pyramid now is terrible.
Well, the food pyramid came in 1974.
Yeah.
So there's your timing. It's right in line with what you're saying. And that's exactly what happened. I remember when we grew up as kids, we didn't have fluoride in Utah in the water system, but it's in, I don't even know when it was instituted, but it's in there now, right?
2003 it was
2003.
put in.
And so, I mean, you go back into those 60s and 70s and you look at the health of people, and then you look at now and why we're having all these health issues and all of the vaccinations we're giving, like 36 to a baby or something, more than that. Like you can, and then you look at where things are paid, who's paying for it. It's like
follow the money
trail, and who has the interest of the people. And that's where you'll find a lot of problems. And that's where we really need to reverse that course dramatically. We just need, we don't have to change a lot. We just have to change everything.
Yeah. And that's exactly what the original life is all about. Genevieve means the original life. And so going backwards in time to a time before we were hijacked with the vaccinations, with this misinformation of the food pyramid, is really getting back to some real core basics. And I have this crazy fantasy that one day people will use the word Genevieve is like a verb, like, oh, that's so Genevieve. And that really it's about getting back to this original life concept of good health, getting connected back to our water, getting connected back to the earth, getting connected and grounded. We're walking around on padded shoes with rubber soles that were insulated from the power of the earth. And so really getting back, into the dirt, not living in a whole sterile environment, but exposing ourselves to some things that, we don't have to be terrified about, and build our immunity, our natural immune system. And that's what Genevieve is all about. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show. And so what would be your final thoughts to people? Like, why would somebody want to really consider, and I love what you had to say about, if you knew what was in your food, you would probably stop eating if you really, really knew. People don't know. Like if you really knew what was in your water, you would stop drinking water. If you thought about water in the way that you think about food, you would stop drinking water because you don't know what's in the water either. You're walking down I'm not going to go there, so forget it. So we'll edit that part out. I can ramble.
Well, before we get into closing thoughts, it looks like you brought some material here. Is there something that you wanted to share with us?
Oh man, I could share, we could talk about this for a long time. And I think Trent made me think about a couple things. And that is, one, we don't really look at our company as a beef company. It is beef, and we love beef, and we really have a respect for cows and beef, but we really look at it as a health. That's our whole goal, is to help people become healthy, and starts with us. And we're still going through that process of becoming more healthy and more healthy. And we've seen the difference that it's blessed us with. One of the things that we have a daughter that helps us on our social media. Well, she doesn't just help us; she pretty much drives her Instagram and all that stuff, which I'm terrible at. But inside of that Instagram is a lot of things that are like, it talks about a cow. What is a cow and what's the rumen? And there's a lot of little things in there. If someone goes through that, they'll get to know our family a little bit, but they'll also get to know, what health kind of starts to look like from our perspective. And that's a really neat thing to kind of go through. And there's a lot of personal things in there, like family and things like that. But what we're really trying to get people to do is just to become healthy. And, diabetes, we were talking about on the way down here, diabetes alone is just enough to make the 90% of the people to do it. If you don't want to be diabetic, eat beef and stop eating sugar. And it sounds really easy, but we know it's not, because we're all very addicted to culture and the food that the culture has produced. And so that we're just trying to change that as much as we can.
That's really good. That's really powerful stuff. Guys, truly, thank you so much for coming on. This has been wildly fun. This is a topic we're both I know you're in the midst of it right now. But really and truly, your message and what you're putting out there, it is very important. And it's something that I firmly believe in. I know it's something that Trent firmly believes in. Thank you. Truly. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Do you have something to say? Did you want to have something?
No, when he was talking about, like, people need to know what's in their food. If you take just like a burger from McDonald's, it can have the DNA of 1,000 cows in it.
Oh my goodness.
They just mix it all up and blend
scary,
it.
It's just been, and that's not a good thing.
No, I'm a one DNA kind of cow per my burger. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. And when people say that's a really good burger, why don't you take all the sauces off and now tell me if it's a good burger?
Sure.
Right.
You probably can't taste it. So one of the things I wanted to add was, the people that are really interested in getting into ranching or need help or what?
Homesteading.
Yeah, homesteading. We're happy to be a resource. I think one of the issues is we're in such a fast-paced, economy, and it's just everything is. It's easy for us to say, "Well, I wish we could go back in time and have our ranch then instead of just now, and have our children around that kind of culture." And there's something about animals that connect with people and heal people. It's like your dog. If you have a dog, you have two dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're a family member. Like you connect with them. When your wife hates you at the time, and you go to your dogs, there's something about animals that really are important that we're meant to be around animals. And my encouragement would be for those that kind of want to go out there and do it, man, forget the corporate job and go do it, or at least figure a way to do it, because you can do that. And it may take some time, but the quicker you do that, I think the more opportunities you're going to have in your future, and your children will be blessed from it. They'll get one, freedom, and then two, they'll connect with nature, good food, and great animals.
But for those who can't do that, just access the resources that you have around you. Find those farms, find those ranches, drink the raw milk. That's a whole nother topic.
One of our hopes is that we'll do some collaboration where if you come to Genevieve, you can find information on you about how you can, get your product, because Genevieve is more than just about water. It's about getting reconnected to the earth, reconnected to your good products, that affect your health in a positive way. So I love what you're doing with your Jensen Beef Company. And any other final thoughts that you have to wrap up?
No, thank you guys for letting us come on, and we're grateful for you, and super happy that we'll be able to connect. And we're we're so excited about the water. So
Yeah,
we've it's the first good water we've had in years. So I'm not trying to pitch anything. I'm just telling you the truth. So
But that's been our priority. That it's our next step.
That's one of our steps.
To get that.
Well, and now
in place.
Enevive is nationwide, so we've sold all over Texas, all over into Florida, New York, Pennsylvania. I mean, Washington. Most of our clients are here in Utah, but we can help and facilitate water transformation anywhere in the country now. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
So we can help you.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, good deal. Well, guys, thank you. Truly, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
This has been a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll be talking to each other very soon in the future.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much. Yay. That was awesome.